Shalom. I'd like to start out by giving all glory, praise, and honor to Yahweh Bahasham, Yahweh Shai Bahasham, Rakach Wadash. Double honors to the elders and apostles of the Great Millstone, and Shalom to the elect of Israel. This is Thamayim in Atlanta, and was listening to Apostle Tahar's video and how he was going into or showing a woman questioning IUIC on Malachi 1 and trying to say that the scriptures are only speaking of Esau and not all of his descendants for that judgment that they're going to get and soon. And so I wanted to take a look at Malachi 1 and just go into it because it's a fun chapter. But we're going to start here at Malachi 1 and verse 2. It says, I have loved you, saith the Lord Yahweh. Yet ye say, wherein hast thou loved us? And this is speaking to Israel, speaking to Jacob. And side note, sometimes it speaks of Jacob, but it's talking about all of his descendants, just like it speaks to Esau, and it's talking about all of his descendants. It says, I have loved you, saith the Lord. Yet ye say, wherein hast thou loved us? Was not Esau Jacob's brother, saith the Lord Yahweh? Yet I loved Jacob. Esau being the so-called Caucasians, including those small hatter 1948 people that are living in the land calling themselves the Lord's people. That makes up the house of Esau. And Jacob is made up of the Negroes, the Latinos, and the Native Americans, the Israelites, as well as our scattered, because we were scattered into the four corners of the earth. And the same with Esau. Esau scattered himself through his colonizing and conquering into the four corners of the earth. And so Jacob, primarily the Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, are going to look like all nations on the planet, or at least there's a remnant of them within these different nations. It all matters who your father was and his father before him, and so on and so forth, all the way back to Jacob. And the same's with Esau. They've scattered themselves throughout the four corners of the earth, and so they're going to look like different nations as well. If they're through their father, they go back to Esau. So you can have people that look like East Indians, but actually go back to Esau. You could have people that look just like Jacob, like Jake, Negro, Latino, Native Americans, but they actually go back to Esau. You just consider the time of the conquistadors and the time of slavery and how many terror babies were made from that. And so it's not a full-on color thing, but the colors, your color does help identify, but it's really through the spirit and going back through your father's line. And verse 3, and I hated Esau and laid his mountains and his heritage waste for the dragons of the wilderness. And Esau rose up into power during the time of the Greeks and of the Romans, but the Lord removed them from that power, from that kingdom that they were in, and had them in a low place throughout the Dark Ages. And then during the Renaissance, they rose again, and now we are at the end of their second time of rulership, because they were promised the fatness of the earth and to rule by the sword, the blessing of the sword. And they've done that, but now we are at their end, and the Lord is about to lay this place waste. And the Lord hates Esau. He loves Jacob. Verse 4, whereas Edom saith, we are impoverished, but we will return and build the desolate places. Thus saith the Lord of hosts, They shall build, but I will throw down, and they shall call them the border of wickedness, and the people against whom the Lord hath indignation forever. Indignation is righteous anger. And this time, when the Lord removes them from the power seat, they will not rise again. They're going to have 1,000 years of hard and long captivity, and then they will be done away with because he has indignation for them forever, righteous anger for what they have done during their time of rulership. And this verse, Malachi 1 and 4, is also how you know that they are the wicked within the scriptures. Let's get a verse on the wicked. And so we're at Proverbs 16 and verse 4. It says, the Lord Yahweh hath made all things for himself, yea, even the wicked for the day of evil. And so that is speaking to the Edomites. He has them saved up. He's let all their sins just save and save and save. And that day of the Lord, all of the judgment will be released on them, as well as the other heathen and the other wicked of all nations, but primarily for the Edomites. He has anger, righteous anger against them. And he saved them up. He's let their sins mount all the way to heaven. And they're going to have the greatest downfall of all time. And the Lord did that because he is a righteous power of judgment. And he's completely balanced. Romans 9 and 21. Because he made one, Jacob, for salvation and for good things. And he made Esau wicked and for bad things. You have to have the balance, see, good and evil. This is the whole story that it's talking about, and these things have played out on this earth, and we've watched them. It's basically the story of between quote-unquote black and white people throughout since the Renaissance, including the natives. And Esau has touched the apple of the Lord's eye. But balance, back to the balance. He's made one for salvation and one for damnation, for absolute destruction. It's the book of Romans 9 and verse 21. Hath not the potter power over the clay of the same lump to make one vessel unto honor and another unto dishonor? So that one unto honor is Jacob, the one to dishonor is Esau. It says, what if the Most High, willing to show his wrath and to make his power known, endured with much long suffering the vessels of wrath fitted to destruction. So they were tailor-made, custom-made for this destruction. They're going to be a great example unto the nations, and they are going to be a way in which the Lord is going to make his name known. And this was his whole intent with creating them. He created them to be exactly like they are, which is deserving of destruction. It says, and that he might make known the riches of his glory on the vessels of mercy, which he had afore prepared unto glory. So one's unto honor, one is to dishonor. One is for glory and mercy, and one is for wrath and destruction. It's the battle of good and evil. He's going to flip everything around and put Jacob into the power seat, while Esau will be counted as a dog. This book of Amos 9 and verse 11. because it's showing the same thing. The salvation of Jacob, of Israel, or his descendants, particularly the elect, the remnant, it all hinges, their salvation hinges on the destruction of Esau and his people. You can't have one without the other. It says, Amos 9 and 11, in that day will I raise up the tabernacle of David that is fallen, and close up the breaches thereof, and I will raise up his ruins, and I will build it as in the days of old, that they may possess the remnant of Edom, and of all the heathen which are called by my name, saith the Lord Yahweh that doeth this. And so you can see he's going to raise up David, the house of David. He's going to raise up the Israelites, which you can see being done, just as said in Ezekiel 37, in the valley of dry bones, and the Israelites standing on their feet and remembering themselves. And this shows the beginning of the end of Esau. But there's going to be a remnant of the Edomites that are saved for the first fruits of slavery. The elite of Edom will be saved. They're going to go into their bunkers, but the elect will pull them out of those bunkers and put chains on them, put them into slavery, and then have them breed and bring back the rest of Edom to come back and be slaves so that they could serve out all of their sentence. Verse 13, it says, behold, the days come, saith the Lord Yahweh, that the plowman shall overtake the reaper. And this is an understanding. The plowman is basically Jacob, and the reaper being Esau. And the treader of grapes, him that soweth seed. And the mountains shall drop sweet wine, and all the hills shall melt. And so it's a great switching of places. It says, behold, the days come, saith the Lord Yahweh, that the plowman shall overtake the reaper. It's a big switching of places. It says, the first shall be last, and the last first. And so Esau had the first dominion, but Jacob has the second dominion, which is an everlasting dominion, everlasting kingdom. And for that all to happen, Esau had to be wicked and had to be removed from power. This is Isaiah 34 and verse 5. It says, for my sword shall be bathed in heaven. Behold, it shall come down upon Idumea. Idumea is the Greek way of saying Edom. And that sword being the nuclear missiles, the ICBMs, that will be dropped onto Esau's main land, which is the US of A, aka Babylon. And it says, and upon the people of my curse to judgment. And so you can see it's people, not just Esau. It's not just talking about Esau. It's talking about a whole race, a whole house of people. Esau, everywhere he is, no matter what color he is or which nation he's looking like, they are going to be destroyed. They're going to be absolutely judged because they've been wicked throughout all of time. And that judgment culminates all the way up to Obadiah 1 and 18, because they're going to get thrown out of power and destroyed, but because reincarnation exists, through that remnant, the rest of their nation will come back and they will serve under the Israelites in a hard bondage. So Obadiah 1 and 18, it says, in the house of Jacob shall be a fire, and the house of Joseph a flame, showing the northern and southern kingdom, and the house of Esau for stubble, and they shall kindle in them and devour them, and there shall not be any remaining of the house of Esau, for the Lord hath spoken it. And so they will be erased, because they like to say that term, let's erase them, especially right now with what's going on in Gaza. They have a fate or a manifest destiny to be completely wiped out. They will be genocided. Just to one last little point on that, Job 18 and 19. And so you can't just genocide one man, one individual, Esau, who's not even around right now. I mean, maybe his spirit is here, but that lady was speaking to just the man Esau back 3,000 years ago. No, it's talking about all of his descendants, and that's what the scriptures are talking about throughout. When it says Jacob or when it says Esau, it's always talking about, or not always, but it's a lot of times it's speaking of the descendants of those people, and it's all playing out on the earth. But Job 18 and 19, speaking of Esau, Edom, and this is after Obadiah 1 and 18, says, he shall neither have son nor nephew among his people, nor any remaining in his dwellings. And so that seed line is going to be completely cut off. They're going to be the only people within the history of the earth to be completely genocided, taken off the earth, because they were made to be the wicked, and we're going into a time of righteousness, and there'll be no need for any wickedness at all. They can't be there at all. And so, Lord willing, that was edifying. I'd like to give all glory, praise, and honor to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahushai, Bahasham, Urkak Wadash. Double honors to the elders and apostles of the Great Millstone, and Shalom to the elect of Israel. Shalom.